Hi everyone, welcome back to Embrace the Question. This is Steve, and today we're going to take a look at the second half of episode 6 of season 2, entitled Unlawful. I always want to say unforgiven, but it's unlawful. And it's about Mary and her restoration, I guess, from her second fall. She probably feels unforgiven, but it is about unlawful. So we are actually taking a look at all the places in this episode where we find things that are considered unlawful. And we've pointed out a few, but we're going to keep our eye out in this second half. And thanks for joining me for this. I hope everyone in America had a good and safe Thanksgiving. So let's try to ease out of our comas for just a few minutes, hear our tryptophan comas, and pay attention to the chosen.
So all you're telling me is that he told somebody to carry his mat on Shabbat?
And invoked the title Son of Man from the prophet Daniel.
Yeah, many have. And maybe something happened at Capernaum, but you're not certain it was the same person.
I am certain.
Right. And your second witness?
My colleague Yusuf.
Was not at the pool, and neither were you.
I was there.
I'm sorry, but this case is very thin. President Shimon does not preoccupy himself with minutia.
Minutia?
If I may be so bold, which violations of God's immutable law does President Shimon deem worthy of his attention?
You're not listening, Yanni, just like you haven't in the past. That is why you still hold a low station.
I would like to know as well. If Shabbat violations are not worthy of Shimon's time, what is?
Of 613 commandments, there are some which, when pitted against one another under certain circumstances, create pain for our people who are already suffering.
The law of Adonai is perfect, reviving the soul.
Let us return to the matter of witnesses. In the Torah, the testimony of how many witnesses is required to judiciously establish a fact?
2.
And if a husband dies and his wife is the only one to witness his death, what does it make her?
A widow?
An agunah, an abandoned woman because there was not a second witness to his death.
And if she remarries?
It makes her an adulterer and her children illegitimate.
Well, can you not see the cruelty of that? These are the laws that Shimon, like his father Hillel, is seeking to reform. His care is for women, for widows, for the undervalued, for the vulnerable. Yours seems to be about people carrying mats on Shabbat.
Blasphemy is not harmless. Dunash, think of the political value.
I'm only telling you that Shimon is extremely focused. He will not expend energy on this case. Shalom.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I'm not sure that I paid attention to that before, which is that if a widow or a woman who loses her husband does not have a second witness present, then she is, what did they say, abandoned and not a widow. Therefore, she cannot lawfully remarry because, according to that law, they don't know if she knocked off her husband or not. And therefore, she would be guilty twice. She would be both a murderer and an adulterer. Anyway, as this man says, this is the kind of unjust laws that Shimon is warring against. So Shimon is one of these rabbis with authority that we talked about in one of the other episodes. And Shimon is a disciple of Hillel, and Hillel was for these easier yokes. I explained that as well. This person that is explaining all this is apparently a disciple of Shimon. They were always debating laws. They were always saying which law is greater, because that was the debate of the day. You had to figure out which law was greater. For instance, to keep the Sabbath for it is holy, or to honor your father and your mother. Which law is greater? Why does that matter? Because if your father and your mother are in trouble and need you on the Sabbath, then for you to aid your father and your mother would be breaking the Sabbath day rule. But if obeying your father and your mother is the greater law than the Sabbath rule, then not honoring your father and your mother in order to obey the Sabbath would be breaking the greater law. You see how these are weighed against each other. That's why the man comes up to Jesus and he says, what's the most important law? What's the greatest commandment? That's why he asked that. And Jesus did something amazing in that particular story. He said, what does the law of Moses say? And he appended this. He said, how do you read it? Which I love. And it tells me a whole lot about Jesus and the grace he gives towards those who legitimately try to follow God's law, which is, how do you interpret it? You may not have it right, but how do you have it? How have you understood it to be? That's comforting to me. Not that I'm worried about breaking laws, but I'm comforted by the fact that our Father loves our freedom to judge for ourselves. And by the way, that man responded to Jesus, well, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and might, and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus said, yeah, if you got that, you can pretty much do it all, right? So I like this particular scene because you get a hint of that. There's a little bit of that going on. And these two guys, Shmuel and Yanni, the other guy, that are trying to frame Nicodemus, they're trying to introduce yet another law for debate, which is healing on the Sabbath day, into a mix that Shimon's not willing to deal with. You get just a little bit of insight there into perhaps what they all did when trying to debate, when trying to push agendas. They had to go through the importance of all these laws. Kind of interesting to me.
Sin, blatantly commanding someone to violate Shabbat, in addition to blasphemy. President Shimon would call that a thin case.
Nash was totally dismissive.
Now, he is arrogant because he believes he's the final word. He thinks there's no consequence in talking down to us.
It's hopeless.
No. It's just getting started. Now we go to the other side, the rigid one.
Shammai?
I was hoping to create more chaos by working through Shimon, but perhaps Shammai will respond to our stories with such fury, this will work better anyway. Once, during the Feast of Tabernacle, Shammai's daughter gave birth to a son. Shmuel. He climbed up onto the roof of the chamber where she and the boy lay and tore open a hole in the plaster just to make it a sukkah.
Yes, and his philosophies have weight in the Sanhedrin, which helps. But what if he finds out we saw President Shimon first?
Not what if. We spell it out for him. Shammai and Shimon are philosophical rivals. Here we have a matter of law that President Shimon doesn't have time for. It's a perfect issue for Shammai. Shimon will have no explanation as to why he didn't take this seriously.
Why does it take all this?
Thank heaven you're alive.
What happened?
Philip returned with news. John the Baptizer was taken into custody.
In the Herod's most heavily blockaded prison. High security.
I guess it was pretty bad. They were rough. They hurt him.
Does Jesus know?
Mm-hmm.
Has Andrew heard?
Just tell me what's going on. No, it's not going to be okay.
Do you need anything? Where is he? An instant. Should I wait? No. I will take you to him.
It's not you. There's quite a lot going on right now. So it's good to have you back.
I don't know what to say.
I don't require much.
I'm so ashamed. You redeemed me and I just threw it all away.
Well, that's not much of a redemption if it can be lost in a day, is it?
I owe you everything. But I just don't think I can do it.
Do what?
Live up to it. Repay you. How could I leave? How could I go back to the place I was? And I didn't even come back on my own. They had to come get me. I just can't live up to it.
Well, that's true. But you don't have to. I just want your heart. The Father just wants your heart. Give us that, which you already have. And the rest will come in time. Did you really think that you'd never struggle or sin again? I know how painful that moment was for you.
I shouldn't.
Someday. But not here.
I'm just so sorry.
Look up.
I can't.
You can. Look at me. I forgive you. It's over.
So many powerful things going on there all at once. With Jesus, with Mary, with Matthew standing outside the door. And you can't tell me that you haven't experienced everything that Mary said. I have multiple times. And it all starts with, I can't do it. I can't live up to it. And he said, you're right, you can't. All I want is your heart. The rest will come in time. And that's the truth. That is still really an amazing thing to think about. It's unfathomable. I also apologize for all the extraneous noise. I've got somebody that's power washing outside or something, and my phone's going off and my other computer's talking, and like it knows. It's just one of the heaviest scenes in the series. Matthew, what do you think's going through his head? He's had all of those very same conversations as well. How can I live up to this? This is not who I've ever been. Now all of a sudden you're saying that I am. Wow. Pretty awesome.
You're certain Herod said forever?
Yeah, I think that's what life imprisonment means. They signed the declaration on the spot. In blood.
We'll never see him again. You can break him out. I know some people.
The zealots against Herod's army. That's a fight I'd pay to see. It's maximum security up there.
That would make it more fun.
No. No. You're not a part of that order anymore. You're a part of this one.
We shouldn't limit our options, is my point.
Now isn't the time for that.
I'm afraid the situation is worse than you know.
What could be worse?
It never used to happen to me before I met you guys.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Rabbi. It seems that there's...
Yes, let them in, Matthew.
Rabbi?
Thomas.
I recognize there is a lot happening, and right now may not be a good time.
What is it?
We only have lentils left to eat for tonight's Shabbat dinner, and after that we are completely out of food.
Nothing left?
I'm so sorry, Rabbi.
Seems like something we should seek my father about.
Pray?
Well, it is almost Shabbat after all. I know of a synagogue nearby.
The nearest settlement is Wadi Geld, and I don't think they give out free meals.
Tell everyone we head out in the morning.
All right, so you get kind of this, we're all hungry and we're going to go visit the nearest settlement, kind of like David did when he visited Nob and ate the showbread. So I still can't remember what happens here. I'm a little bit excited. And another aspect of this I caught was no matter how busy Jesus is or how many things are going on, he's always got time to hear the concerns of someone else. Powerful.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom, Lamei.
Have you been to the synagogue, Rabbi?
No, I have not, sir.
Why this synagogue, Rabbi? It's not on any of our maps.
That's a good question. Have you noticed that no matter where we go recently, we are more and more misunderstood?
Definitely.
It's a very complicated time. It grieves me that Mary was not welcomed in the synagogue in Jericho when she first arrived in distress.
They turned her away? She didn't mention it.
Come on, she's a woman. She didn't expect their help, but she needed it. Add to that, John's arrest. You could say I'm feeling nostalgic for a small town.
No one born of a forbidden union may enter the assembly of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation, none of his descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord. No Ammonite or Moabite may enter the assembly of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation, none of them may enter the assembly of the Lord forever. Because they did not meet you with bread and with water on the way.
Shalom.
Even to the 10th generation, none of them may enter the assembly of the Lord forever.
May I see?
Because they did not meet you with bread and with what? Excuse me, what are you doing?
What is your name?
Elam. Your friend Elam has a withered hand.
Are you a healer?
It is not lawful to heal on Sabbath.
Which one of you who has a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath will not take hold of it and lift it out?
Who are you to speak to our congregation in such a
Of
way?
how much more value is this man than a sheep?
Stop this at once.
Come here. Come stand here. It's okay.
Elam, sit down. We don't know this person. He could be a shaman.
Is it lawful on Sabbath to do good or to do harm? To save life or to kill?
This affliction does not threaten his life.
It does not even affect his health.
Lift it up. Stretch it out. Feels good, huh?
If he was supposed to be healed, God would have done it himself.
Interesting point.
Get out.
Gladly.
Blasphemer!
What is wrong with you?
Apparently everything.
Wait! Come back! How dare you!
Are they going to send the town guards after us?
I think those guys are the town guards.
All right, so for those of you who didn't see, first he interrupted the reading simply by standing next to this guy with a paralyzed hand. Then the priest.
What? Reaping or harvesting on Shabbat.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, I've been so hungry I forgot what day it is.
You may.
No, get back. Out of the way. You have made a mockery of our little synagogue and of Torah.
You will tell us your name, your lineage, your virtue, and now your disciples are doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath.
Have you not read what David did when he was in need and was hungry? He entered the house of God in a time of Ahimelech, the priest, and ate the bread of the presence, which was not lawful for him to eat, but only for the priests.
You would compare yourself to David. It was an emergency.
Or have you not read in the law how on Shabbat the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath, but are guiltless?
That's for Levites. Are you a Levite of priestly lineage?
Listen carefully. Something greater than the temple is here. And if you had known what this means, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So, the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath.
The Son of Man.
Let's go.
That title, Son of Man, it seems to upset a lot of people. Why?
Tell you later.
Okay, I don't really even know what I want to say about this. This was so rich. It's got so much in there. Do you guys have a problem with this? Is this news? Is this a head scratcher to you? For me, it's I guess I've been kind of studying this so long that it just makes sense. It clicks with me. Jesus came to he came to reveal the face of God. That's really literally what John 1 tells us. No one has ever seen God except the Son of Man who came to unfold God for us so that we could see God. That's the literal. And so God didn't make man for the Sabbath. He made the Sabbath for man. He made rest for man. He didn't make all these rules so that man would constantly have to stumble over one or two of them. He would always be behind. He would always be a transgressor, which is what the law of Moses proved that we were. The law of Moses was given so that man would find out that he can't do it. He cannot do it. And I will go back to this other story of the young man that comes to Jesus and says, Jesus, what must I do to be saved? And Jesus says, what did Moses say? And the man said, all these commands I followed from my youth. And Jesus said, really? Good job. Now take all that you have and give it to the poor. And the man couldn't do that. And that's the whole point, is that there will always be something you can't do. Jesus could have said something like, okay, I just want you to stand on your head now. He probably legitimately couldn't do that. And it wouldn't matter, because the point is that there's always going to be something you can't do. So if it's up to me and it's up to you, we're just going to be lost. But if it's up to him, we have a way of salvation. And that's really the underlying story that Jesus is always trying to communicate. And I love it. And it's so well played. The whole scene with Simon with a mouthful of grain. Oh, sorry, I forgot what day it was. Yeah. So now we see the unlawful. Everything is unlawful. And it's a horrible way to live, isn't it? If you have to follow nothing but 613 rules. That's just a rough way to go. And you can't do it. I like Jesus' way better.
They probably won't even read it. This is what he came to, not Bethany or Jericho. They routinely forget to send us memoranda of liturgical changes for synagogue practice.
And if we don't alert the Sanhedrin?
Then we sin by omission.
He even had women following him. 3.
Be sure to add that.
If that doesn't catch their attention.
But the Sanhedrin is distracted between Rome and the fractions and the zealots and the protest and Herod and Caesar. Their attention is diluted.
Who would have dreamed? Someone claiming to be the Son of Man?
The one who approaches the Ancient of Days.
And Lord of the Sabbath. Walking into a tiny synagogue.
What he killed? Jerusalem? David, Goliath. Maybe there is hope for the little, the overlooked.
Or maybe they write it off as just another lunatic in the wilderness, spewing blasphemies and trying to get attention.
And then it will end up at the bottom of a pile on some secretary's desk. We could go to Jatabata. There will be people of import among the protests. We could tell them as well.
Yes. We will do both. Who knows? All we can do is fulfill our duty to report the facts. And pray.
For what?
Justice.
Well, Jesus did definitely cause trouble everywhere he went. And these guys are really incensed. Doesn't seem to matter where he goes, he upsets the powers that are already there. That in itself is a study, because at some point all of these religious spirits went out into the world and set up shop. And then Jesus comes along and he starts displacing them. He starts upsetting them. And it's easy to do today. You know, I've been in churches that had so many rules. They called them church covenants, and they had so many rules posted that Jesus himself would not have fit in there. And that's kind of what he said. That's kind of what he said in that synagogue there. They made some mention of his unrighteous acts, and he said, fine, I'm leaving, in so many words. And I think that Jesus has left a lot of churches. Been gone long time. Crazy, but that's an interesting episode. I liked it. Appreciate you watching with me. If you want to see more like this, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for all those who have been purchasing me coffee. I appreciate the coffee. And if you want to purchase me more, I am absolutely open to that. But hey, listen, I'll see you next time. About a week out. You guys be safe, be blessed. Take care.